They're mean. They're ornery. They're vampires. Welcome to I Hope You Suffer.
That sounds like a sitcom.
It does.
I would watch that sitcom. Bruce Campbell and his fucking mustache just hanging around vampires. Getting into
I really liked his look in this one.
Yeah, same.
Well,
Really
the other...
Sad.
Well... He was in it a little bit more than I expected, actually. And, like, his, like, plot line I thought was really good.
I, again, don't remember any of it.
Okay. The other tagline is...
Highlight.
There's... Huh?
It said M. Emmett Walsh, highlight.
Yeah, that was about it.
Yeah. Well, the other tagline is there's two kinds of folks in purgatory. Vampires and lunch.
I just wanted to say ornery.
I don't really... I don't know. We'll get into it. I don't really understand the title, now having seen the movie.
Yeah. This is episode... what?
Oh, I was saying they're like...
We're having a... We're struggling.
Just fuck it. This is episode 136. Just go ahead. Kit, what were you saying?
I forgot what I was saying.
No. All right. Yeah, so we are talking about 1989's Sundown, The Vampire in Retreat. A Bruce Campbell joint.
Jam joint.
Yeah.
Joint jam.
Oh my god.
He's jamming all kinds of joints.
Yeah.
I actually forgot he was in it because it took him kind of so long.
Yeah, it was like a solid 20 minutes till he showed up.
Yeah.
But
and then he was there for like 15 minutes and then disappeared for like another half hour.
That's what I mean. Is like I kind of remember up until he like kidnaps that like woman vampire, and then I don't remember anything until that showdown at the end.
Oh. Like
I just blocked out. As soon as I got done watching, I was just like, oh, I could just dump this from my memory, I guess.
It's
really
the 5G installing in your brain.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
That's great.
You need to clear room.
Bill Gates has got to dump all my memories to upload
Bill Gates
whatever
is very
he needs.
anti-vampire.
I'm becoming a terabyte storage for whatever Bill Gates needs for his Jay-Z MP3s.
You're turning into purified poop water.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't bad. I just didn't like... It just was like, it was very kind of like, yeah, this was fine. I don't need to like... I don't feel like I ever need to watch it again.
I feel like I would.
I'm kind of surprised this one, like, has been sort of forgotten, like, is such an obscure thing. Because I don't think it's great, but I think it fills that really fun kind of adventure-y, weird 80s horror movie niche really well. I feel like a lot of people would like it if they knew it existed.
I wonder if it just like doesn't have a like for one of those movies that just never got like a real kind of wide physical release, and that's probably why.
Yeah.
Well, look, I'll figure it out and see if I can find it or not.
I saw it as part of like an 8-pack with some really shitty looking movies.
Well, to be fair, like I number one, I did not know when this came out. So when I started watching it, I expected it to be really bad because the cover on IMDb is of a special edition DVD that they released, I guess, and it looks really bad. It looks like You can't even tell that's Bruce Campbell. Personally, I couldn't. And it looks like, I don't know, it just looks like it's going to be like a shitty, like, a CG
like a
sort of thing.
Like one of those sci-fi original DVDs. Like
Yeah.
that they
I was
put
gonna
out
say
in the
like
2000s.
they did the Near Dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
this looks like it's like you could buy it right now from like Family Video and Walmart and shit. So it's on DVD.
Yeah, I
Huh.
don't know. I personally have never heard of it. I've never seen anyone talk about it. And after having seen it, like, I personally really liked it. This is kind of like up my alley as far as like movies go. So I would watch it again. And I mean, maybe it's just because I expected it to be really dumb that I was just like pleasantly surprised, because it's just like a real movie. It's a real movie. You know what I mean? It's like they've got like practical
budget.
effects going on. Yeah. The story was like fine. I liked it. It was kind of wacky at points. The humor was there. The acting was fine. Like, yeah. I just feel like I really needed this movie after last week. I
kind of assumed it would be at least watchable just because like Anthony Hickox is the guy who's the director behind like Waxwork and Waxwork 2 and like Hellraiser 3
Right.
and
I forgot about that.
some other like, you know, pretty decent movies. So I was like, it'll at least be like watchable. And then like usually if Bruce Campbell is starring in something, like he's one of those people that like I feel like even movies that aren't great that he's in, he kind of like brings the movie up a level just because he's so like watchable. And so I was like, I didn't assume this was gonna be like a shitty movie we came across. Like I assumed it would at least be like a fun watch, and it was. I just like, I think between the second dose of the vaccine and watching it after work and all that shit, like I just was like out. I'm like, my brain's been extremely foggy since like the last like 3 days. So like everything was just kind of like a blur watching it, to the point where I was like, I got done and I was like, I don't really remember most of this movie now.
Well, to be fair, it's kind of more like they classify it as a comedy horror western. But I would say it's kind of more like a drama, because like there's not a lot of action that happens until the end, and then the end is all action. So it's like a lot of talking, a lot of like, you know, so it's like, yeah, it's a lot of it I feel probably isn't super memorable, but I just watched it today, so
Yeah, let's dive
Crack
into
into
this.
it.
So, like I said, directed by Anthony Hickox, starring the King, M. Emmett Walsh. Just
Yeah, we stand.
just fucking smacking heads off people left or right.
Oh,
With
okay.
that sweet hat.
Yes, just fucking all wear the coolest pre-Pit Viper sunglasses.
Their glasses, yeah.
Also starring, like we said, Bruce Campbell, David Carradine, Morgan Brittany. I think that was kind of it for sort of people I recognized. Jim Metzler sounds familiar. Who's he?
He was in like LA Confidential.
I assume everybody in this cast
He-
has been on Murder, She Wrote.
I don't think so, actually. But he's been on a lot of stuff too.
Yeah, he was
kind
on-
of stuff like that.
he
He was
was in
also
Wiener
in
Dog
Children of the Corn
Nationals.
3. Duh.
Yeah.
And then-
Dabs Greer was in Con Air as Old Man Under Truck.
Yeah.
That checks out.
I just like his name.
Yes,
And then,
that's a cool name.
Of course, we already said Dana Ashbrook is from Twin Peaks.
Never seen it.
Doing almost no acting. You know who was in Murder, She Wrote, though? John Ireland.
I bet it was M. Emmett Walsh in Murder, She Wrote. He seems like he would be.
Mm,
God damn, he's got so many movies.
I know. I don't remember. I did finally finish Murder, She Wrote. I don't remember him being in there. He is, however, in the Scorpion King 4.
Oh boy.
Oh, hell yeah.
Is The Rock in that one?
He's the Scorpion King.
Oh my god, I would watch the shit out of him play the Scorpion King.
I don't think The Rock's in that one. For some reason, I feel like he's only in the first one, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, he's in the first one, and then I don't even know what the fuck 2 was, and then one of them has like Randy Couture, like the UFC fighter. They get very weird very fast.
Some of the best CGI I've ever seen in Scorpion King.
Yes.
Up there with
Incredible
Mortal
Spider.
Kombat 2.
Emmett Walsh was also in Twilight. So he's got a...
He was Edward.
Yeah.
He was Henry
Team
Allen in the
Edward.
Flash TV show?
Oh.
Like the 90s one?
Y'all, Scorpion King 3 has Billy Zane, Dave Bautista, and Ron Perlman.
Oh no. Okay. Wow. I had no idea.
So what
Are
you're
you
saying...
sure it's Billy Zane?
what you're
I'm not, but it looks like him kind of.
Oh, yeah. You know what movie Emmett Walsh was in that rules? Chairman of the Board.
No.
That's true.
The only watchable part of that movie. Alright, go ahead, Katie. Tell me about this movie, because I'm going to pretend I'm watching it for the first time.
I'm gonna keep
Okay.
looking at Scorpion Kings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Coming up in May. All just Scorpion King month.
Oh no.
All 4
All of
movies.
them.
Yes, I'm so in.
We should
I
just
honestly
do...
don't-
We'll just do a bonus episode where we just do all 4 Scorpion Kings.
Yes.
I don't think I've seen any of them, to be honest. Like, I don't even think I saw the first one, but then I only just realized that that's part of the Mummy, like, universe, and I was like, oh,
Yeah, I saw The Mummy and then Scorpion King. Those are the only ones I've seen.
makes sense.
Okay, one last quick thing. Cast for 4, other than Emmett Walsh, Michael Biehn, Rutger Hauer, Barry Bostwick, and Lou Ferrigno.
Is that-
How?
Oh no, that's not the one that Bautista was in, right?
No.
So I need Bautista to be in all movies.
Agreed.
You know what would have made Snyder Cut more watchable?
Oh my
Bautista
God.
is the Flash.
Oh.
Batista is everyone.
It's
Yeah.
everybody, yeah.
Bautista is Alfred
Including all the Amazons.
and Lois Lane.
Yes. Okay. Let's go. So, this movie starts with a little girl who is being chased by Dracula. Well, it's not Dracula. It's her sister wearing a Dracula costume. And the 2 girls' names are Gwendolyn and Juliet, which is adorable. And the dad, whose name is David, is yelling at her for chasing her sister and is like lecturing the mom about how they like go into her bedroom and there's just like all this vampire and like horror stuff in there. And the dad is like lecturing the mom, whose name is Sarah, about how she shouldn't like buy her horror stuff, which boo. They're fine. They're also pretty young though.
Yeah, the one blonde kid looked extremely young.
Yeah, and I actually have to say, like, I think part of the thing is that, like, the 2 children, I don't know how old they were, maybe, like, 7 and 8, or, they were, like, very young. They must have been under 10, but they were, like, not annoying, which is not normal for children actors, I feel like. They were just, like, normal kids. They also weren't in it that much, but anyways, so... Then the dad, David, is just like, okay, no horror. Also, we're going to go on vacation to a town called Purgatory. So, meanwhile, there's this dude who is just, like, off-roading in a Jeep, and he thinks he's cool. There's, like, 80s rock music playing, and we see an old gas station where there are 3 old guys. They're wearing cool sunglasses, and essentially they're arguing about, like, the gas station is full service, so they're arguing about who has to go like help this jackass. So The one who ends up... So I didn't write down any of the brothers. There's 3 of them. They look very similar. They're all brothers. The only important one is M. Emmett Walsh, whose name is Mort.
Mort, Merle, something else
Milt.
with an M, something like that.
Milt. Yeah.
Yeah, Milt, yeah.
So, anyways, so Mort, I think, is the one that's like, fine, I'll go help. So he goes inside. He has like sunglasses and he has like a huge sombrero.
Yeah, they all have on like very kind of like modern sunglasses for like 1989. Like they look like you could just go buy them at like Target now.
Right now, yeah. But they're like huge to cover more of their faces. Like he's wearing a huge sombrero, but he goes inside and like slathers sunblock on himself, like a whole can of it. And he also sets up some kind of alarm that we see pinging in like different shops in the town. And you're like, okay, weird. So he goes out to pump the gas. Like meanwhile, the guy has just been like so rude to them and is like, I'm gonna be as old as you. I don't know what he said, but he was like a really big dick. And so Mort is like trying to help him by pumping the gas, and the guy is just being rude to him, and he just like punches the guy's head off.
He just like backhands this dude's head off out of nowhere, and it rules.
It flies off. I wasn't expecting that, and I laughed very hard. So, like essentially, this guy, his name was Tom, I think. It doesn't matter, but his friends, who I refer to as the campers for the rest of the movie, I don't know what their names were. Like basically the girl is like looking through binoculars and sees Mort knock their friend's head off and is like freaking out, as you do. And the brothers are sort of talking about like, what are we gonna do? We have to hide the Jeep, blah 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 blah. Then one of them goes through like drives through the town. Oh, because they're like basically he walks up to him and he's like, "Is your name Dave Harrison?" And we have no idea at this point like what's going on. And he's like, "No, it's Tom, blah blah blah, whatever." And that's why he kills him. So then he's driving through town telling everybody like, "Oh, it was just a false alarm. It wasn't Dave. Like, don't worry about it." We get a really quick scene of some guys doing science. Then we switch back to the family, who is driving, to Purgatory, the town. And essentially the information we get from this is that like the wife's ex-boyfriend Shane is in the town and she doesn't want to see him, and then they kind of have like a back and forth about that.
Do I remember correctly? Do we see his dong?
No.
I read something about there being dong, and I googled it and couldn't find anything. Because if there was dong, I missed.
No, I'll tell you when we get to it.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't like I was watching it, but then like I was on my phone, so I couldn't tell if it was like I was seeing things or not. But I was also at the point where I was like, I'm not going back to see if this was.
You
should I'm not going to double check the dong. Yeah. So, also like one of the brothers goes to see this guy named Mr. Jefferson, who I had a hard time keeping some of the people like separate, so I called him Mr. Jefferson and Ethan. I'm just gonna call him Ethan. So goes to talk to Ethan about how like Mort just slapped that guy's head off and what to do about it. So then like we see the science guys again, and even if like we didn't know, like leading up to this point, everybody in the town seems really strange, but we don't actually know they're vampires. So like if you didn't know that the name of the movie was called Vampire in Retreat, then like maybe you'd be like, okay, what's going on? But then you see this group of men who are clearly vampires because they're wearing like period outfits, like button-up silk vests, and their hair is like, they look like they're from Interview with the Vampire, like very clearly. And they're drinking this like white stuff out of a bottle, which looks really gross. Looks very gross.
This looks like a naked juice.
I'd snort it.
You would snort it?
Yeah.
Well,
look, we got people out here drinking the Coca-Cola coffee drink. I assume this is probably better than that.
Wow, rude.
I will try that.
I have one in my fridge, actually. I haven't tried it yet.
I
let me know how it is.
Okay.
I've heard it's terrible. Even if like you like both eggs, I've heard it tastes terrible. So
Well, so apparently there was like one back in the early 2000s that was really
that
good.
one sucked. That one
Okay,
was
well-
terrible.
Well, I've heard the opposite, and I haven't heard anything about this new one, but I haven't tried it yet, so we'll see.
go get it now. Try it on air.
I'm not ready to drink it.
Get all fucking hopped up in the middle of the day.
I know. Okay, so he's drinking gross milk. I mean, it's not milk, it's white
Gilk.
stuff. Gilk.
Yeah.
Gross milk. Gilk.
Yeah. And
Yes.
he's like, gross, this is terrible. We need Dave Harrison. He's going to save us. And we're like, what the fuck is going on? So back at the gas station, the family shows up and Mort's just like, he's like holding the guy's head, and then the car starts pulling up and he just like puts it behind his back and he's just like standing there holding the head. And they're like, hey, where's Purgatory? Yuck. And so they go into town where they meet the sheriff of the town, whose name is Quentin Canada.
Yeah, that checks out.
Why not?
I thought that was so funny. He's also like one of the only people with a last name, so the fact that it was Quentin Canada just... Anyways, he basically greets them and is essentially like, this is a perfect town. So the family goes into a nearby shop, and essentially, like, the two people that own it are named Anna and Otto, and they're just like talking to the family. And there's like a weird thing where they're like, yeah, let's get supplies. We're making spaghetti for dinner. Do you have garlic? And he's like, what garlic? Where? And he's like, haha, I mean, just kidding. No garlic here, or whatever. And it's all like shady. So, then the shopkeepers also tell them essentially that, shit, what was his name? Count Mardulac.
Yeah.
Mardulac?
I kept thinking it was
clearly Dracula, all rearranged with an M thrown in for spice.
I assume
Right.
every time I like saw it pop up in the closed captioning or whatever, I was like expecting it to be Marduk. And I was like, oh no, Marduk.
Count Marmalade was the one that basically the entire town used to be super booming because of the copper, but then the copper dried up and then everyone left and it's a dying town, and basically Count M turned the town around, and now they're quote unquote blood makers. Okay. So then there's just like a little scene where the two campers like come into town, and Officer Canada is like, hey, what's up? And they're like,
Canada is such a good name.
Like, gets out of the car with Mort, and they're like, this guy killed our friend. Like, why doesn't he have handcuffs or anything? And Canada's like, doesn't matter. Let's go. And so he basically also calls it a temper tantrum, which I thought was funny. And then he puts Mort and the campers into a jail cell, and whatever. So the family arrives at their mansion.
Over Canada.
They should do a buddy cop show where it's Marjolac in Canada.
Marmalade in Canada. So the family arrives at the mansion, and it's like, a big mansion. There's also like an even huger mansion across the way. We also see like a very short scene of Bruce Campbell's car breaking down. What was his name in this?
He's Van Helsing.
Van Helsing, but I don't know what his actual Robert Van Helsing.
Bobby Van
right.
Helsing.
Bobby.
Can we talk about how there is a JCVD Kickboxer sequel with Bautista in it?
I've seen it.
Why are we not watching that right now? Because Bautista looks insane in it. His name is Tong Po. Oh boy.
What?
Oh my god. It is... So we watched both of the... Is there 3 of them, or just 2?
I think there's like 4, right?
Yeah, I think this is 4?
We watched like 2 or 3 of them, and that character made me so mad. I hated him so much.
This is the Dave Bautista podcast from now on.
I guess so.
I'm
Are we
in.
sure he's like legit? He's not a sack of shit, is
No,
he?
he
I don't
seems like a pretty fucking good dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well then.
He was
stand.
like...
Listen, we were burned by Papa John. I just don't want to ever have that happen again.
As far as I've ever seen, and he's been like super outspoken on pretty good things. So
Yeah.
Okay. Good. We stand then.
Oh my god, his hair.
Yeah. Yeah.
oh man, that might be enough to cancel him.
The hair.
Yeah.
Well, he's a villain, obviously, so, you know, you gotta have the hair. Or sort of hair, you know. Okay, so then we get this, like, shot of a cornfield at night. Oh my god.
Night corn.
The scene. Night. I like that. And these 2 guys are, like, disgusting.
I had this image of a bunch of corn in Night Court, the TV show.
Wow.
Corn on trial.
We're never getting through this movie.
I know. No. It's a high stocks claim. So, like, there's these 2 guys that are, like, talking kind of, like, off camera, and we're just seeing, like, shots of corn, but then, surprise, it's actually 2 bats talking. And one of them's like, I'm gonna go there! And he flops away, and the other guy's like, but you're naked! So, we get bat vision of the bat flying to the mansion, where Sarah is just, like, sitting in front of her mirror, brushing her hair or whatever. And then the bat shows up. He like, flaps into the room, but then he's, like, a man. And he's naked, but it's like a Ken doll.
Oh, so, like, I couldn't tell, but I was just like, I'm just going to assume there was a dick. It just makes it more fun.
I'm pretty sure, like, I watched it on a regular TV, and it looked like a Ken doll situation to me. So, then he turns back, so she, like, there's, like, this whole thing because she's looking into a mirror and she can't, like, see the reflection or whatever. So then when she turns around, he's, like, a bat again and is, like, chasing her around, and she's, like, screaming for her husband, but her husband is, like, listening to headphones downstairs. And so she, like, lays down on the bed, and the bat, like, is, like, crawling on her, and he kind of looks like it's like a bat puppet that's kind of looks more like a gargoyle to me. But whatever, I appreciate that they tried. And so, sorry, Merlin is freaking out. And so the bat is, like, crawling on top of her.
Tong Po.
I know. No, he wasn't allowed to watch that. No rated R movies for Merlin. And then the little girls, like, hear their mom screaming and run in and see that the bat is a man again, which I just can't even imagine how terrifying. Man bat. Except he's not furry. He's just, like, literally a naked guy, like, on top of the mom, and he, like, hisses, of course, and then he bats out. So
I'm gonna start using the phrase "bats out" when I leave rooms.
Bats out. Please do. I love it. Everyone, spread it like wildfire. So then we just get a scene of Ethan, who is kind of like, you get the idea that he's kind of like the head bitch of the town. He's played by
Emmett Walsh.
Someone who is not on the front page for some reason, even though he's like a main character.
John Cena.
Oh man, that'd be amazing. Remake this movie, but just all WWE.
Oh, it's John.
I
already said it's John Ireland. I'm stupid. I already said that. Anyways, so he's like a big name guy, right? Whatever. So he basically just like recruits a couple of vampires from LA, and you know they're from LA because they're like, dude, awesome. You know, like they're like talking like LA. Then they're like flying through the night as bats, and he's kind of like telling them the weaknesses of bats or vampires, which I feel like they have to do in every movie, but like I think it's pretty well known. but it's fine. And basically he takes them to this like underground cave where there's like a ton of other vampires, and he's like, hello, I'm building an army, and tomorrow night we're gonna attack Purgatory. Ta-da. So Bruce Campbell has been walking all night because his car broke down. He finally makes it to the gas station, and the two remaining oh wait, are all the brothers there at this point? No, yeah, it's the two remaining brothers because Mort is in jail. Are essentially just like, never heard of Purgatory, can't help you, we don't have a phone, we can't do anything, goodbye. And he's like, okay, whatever. So he keeps walking. So this is the next morning. The family is like talking about the quote unquote incident that happened last night. And Juliet is like, well, it was a vampire, like, duh. And the dad is just like mad about it. And he's like, I don't want to hear another word. And then he leaves to go to work, where he argues with Shane, who is... Here's where I'm confused. The vampire that attacked her was Shane, right?
Yeah, like the guy that like is like the rival for yeah.
How could she? Oh, maybe I guess.
So I pulled up the movie. I had to find out whether there was some dong in this or not.
Okay.
It looks like he's wearing one of those like nude sock things that like actors wear for nude scenes, so they're you know, like their dick's not just hanging out, and it just looks like they forgot to kind of like cover it up.
Oh,
it's
okay.
Very strange looking.
Yeah, the scene was like pretty fast too, so it's like, it's not. But how? I guess like maybe she wasn't looking at him when he was like a man, and because I was like, why would she not recognize him if they used to date?
I mean, he looks kind of weird. Like, I can't screenshot it to like share it, but he definitely kind of looks slightly weirder than he does when he's just like in like his regular.
Yeah, because this is like another situation where some of them look normal and some of them are like, you know, vamp out, like Lost Boys type thing. So I don't really know what. I guess it's because, well, we'll find out. Okay, so Dave goes to work where Shane is there, and they basically kind of like quip at each other about Sarah, and argue about the blood machine. So Bruce Campbell arrives at this diner where basically a bunch of vampires just hang out there and pretend to eat real food as a ruse, which there's an awful lot of them there to just be pretending to eat all the time. I was like, wow, how fucking boring would that be?
Yeah, it sounds pretty not great.
He makes small talk with Canada, who essentially is just like, nobody here can fix your card, you need to leave. And there's like this whole thing where like he's like just like a blubbering, like nervous because the waitress is beautiful, and he's like can't handle it and be normal. And he also, even though he's been walking for like a whole day, instead of like asking for water, he sits down and orders a black cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Which sounds like the worst thing to have after you've just been like walking through the desert, but it's fine. He doesn't drink it, of course.
Pure hydration. Black coffee. If you know this.
Right. Well, I guess don't knock it until you've tried it. So
when you go to a hospital, they give you black coffee in an IV bag.
I love it. So
just straight into the veins.
I mean, you need it sometimes, so then Bruce Campbell is just like, hey, she comes back like with his coffee, and she's like, do you need anything else? He's like, yeah, do you recognize this guy? And like hands her a like 18th century portrait of Dracula, essentially. Like an oil painting. And she does, and she's like, oh, that's Count Marmaduke. And he's like, what? And then she's like, no, here's your bill, you have to leave, goodbye. And he's like, okay, nice meeting you folks, I guess. Dave and Shane are still arguing about the machine. They're arguing about Sarah again. And I kind of missed what Shane said to him. Like, we get the context later, but essentially he says something about how, like he was with Sarah when she and Dave were together, and they start fighting, and he like tries to punch him, and he, Dave or Shane like throws him into a wall or some shit. Then basically we like get this scene where Sandy is bringing burgers and what we now know the white fluid is synthesized blood to the jail to give to Mort, and then the campers kind of find out that everyone's vampires, I guess. So back at the house, the little girls are like messing around in the library, and they find a secret passage that leads to a coffin. And I thought this scene was really funny because they're just like, being little kids or whatever, and they're like, ooh, a coffin, and the coffin starts opening, and one of the girls goes, uh-oh! Like, really long, and,
the thing I appreciated about the kids in this movie is they are not good actors, like, not good kid actors, and so it made them feel like actual kids.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause I don't know, like, sometimes it'll be like kid, which, like, this... It works for this movie. They would be terrible in other movies. Like, it just kind of depends on what kind of movie you're making. But, like, I don't know. I felt like they worked pretty well in this just for the fact that, like, they didn't come off super actory.
Right. So, like, essentially the coffin opens and the girls, like, freak out and run to Sarah and tell her. Then when they go back down there, we are introduced finally to Marmalak.
Marmaduke.
Who is essentially like, hey, I live across the street and our mansions are connected by a passage. And the mom's like, okay, it's nice to meet you, see ya. And then essentially she's like, go play, and the girls are like, okay, and they just like completely forget about the whole thing. Meanwhile, Sandy drives out into the desert where she meets Bruce Campbell, and he's all nervous and shit. And we also had found out that she was 20 years old and she's only been a vampire for like 6 months or something like that. So, basically she like comes on to him and tries to kiss him, and he's all like, oh my goodness. But then when she leans in to kiss him, he looks into his like hubcap or something and sees that she does not have a reflection. So he immediately punches her in the jaw, and he is primed to stake her essentially, and she's like no, like, you don't understand, like, we're not like that, blah blah blah. Oh, if you leave me, if you spare me, like, I'll take you to Mardulak, who knows. And so he's like, okay, fine. But then they hear a siren, like a police siren, and so he's like basically takes her as his hostage at this point, and they creep up over the mountain, and they look down and see that it is Canada and Shane talking. I don't really know the gist of what they were talking about, but then Ethan shows up, and Canada's like, oh no, you're in for it now, brother. But he's not, because Shane is essentially like in cahoots with Ethan, and they have developed these wooden bullets that splinter when they enter you. So if you shoot a vampire in the heart, it will kill them. And they demonstrate its effectiveness by basically shooting Canada, and he is dead. R.I.P.
I really like this idea of the bullets.
Yeah, it's unique.
Yeah, like, I felt like that was something I had, like, at least could remember of seeing before. I'm sure it probably has been done since, at least.
I don't know. Yeah, because I feel like the go-to is like, I don't know, bullets with holy water, or, it's depending on the movie, like a sterling silver, or, like in Bloodlust, it's like melted down cross bullets or some shit. So I don't know.
We don't have to talk about those movies anymore.
They should shoot garlic cloves.
Yeah, that's what
at a high speed.
It should just be like
out of like a potato gun, but it's a garlic gun.
It should be like the what's the fucking thing called? Like it's not a peeler. The thing you squeeze, that like garlic press, but like when you do it, it just shoots it out at you.
What if you get a really big garlic press? and you get a vampire to step into it along with a really big garlic. So you press them into the garlic.
I think we're on.
They get crushed
here.
and garlicked.
Yeah, let's workshop it. Keep working on it. So, meanwhile, basically, Sandy explains that everybody in the town is vampires except for the new family, and that Shane was a human when he showed up to the town because they were trying to integrate basically a world where vampires and humans could live together in harmony, but it didn't work, so they turned him into a vampire. Whoops. So this is where, like, I missed whenever Shane and Dave were talking about this, but Dave shows up at home and essentially is like, Sarah has found out that Sarah had an affair with Shane while she was still with Dave, while he was in medical school, and maybe Juliet is not his, and he is mad and storms out. So, and it's, like, really weird because this kind of, like, didn't really have anything to do with the rest of the movie. It was just, like, random drama. And when she's like, yes, it's true, I'm so sorry, he's like, why couldn't you just lie to me? And I was like, well, why are you asking her then if she's gonna tell you the truth, bro? Anyway, essentially the whole town comes out of the diner and wants to eat the campers, but the little girls come and essentially are, distract them. And then they go into the shop and they see Shane in there, and Juliet recognizes him, from being naked in the mom's bedroom, and also says that she has had a dream. And Anna and Otto are like, tell us, child, about the dream. So basically, Madalek shows up and is like talking to all the villagers about how they said that they were tired of killing people, hunting and killing humans and drinking real blood and blah, blah, blah. And they all agreed that it was better for them to, like, not do that. So that's why he came to the town and, funded the synthetic blood factory. And essentially he's like, if you guys disobey me, I will kill you. Like, and they're like, okay. Then there's this really weird scene where Dave is, like, sitting in a field, and there's, like, this really loud, like, soap opera music playing, and Sarah goes out there, and her clothes are all billowy, and she's essentially like, we can work this out, but not here and not now. Let's take the girls and leave. And he's like, okay, I love you. So they get in their car to, like, drive into town to pick up the girls, but they are passed by another car that has the girls inside, and they're like, whoa, what? So they spin around and follow them. Bruce Campbell, meanwhile, and Sandy have gone to the Count's mansion and have climbed up onto the roof. So the rest of this is kind of flipping back and forth a lot, so I'm going to do my best to explain it kind of cohesively, but my notes are kind of crazy. So basically, like, Bruce Campbell and Sandy are up on top of the roof, and he's like, when the Count comes into the room, I'm going to jump down and kill him or whatever. And Sandy is trying to be like, hey, times have changed. Like, we're not like that anymore. And Bruce Campbell just, like, doesn't want to hear it. Meanwhile, Ethan has gone to his, like, cave where all his vampire army is and, like, wakes them up. And we basically just, like, see a bunch of them turn into bats, which was, like, kind of cool.
Bat gang.
Yeah. Just, doing bat shit. And,
yeah.
So, meanwhile, Dave and Sarah have followed the car to the Count's house. They all get out of the car at the same time, essentially, and are like, Dave is, like, freaked out, but Sarah's like, oh, no, this is the Count. He's our host, or whatever. And then the Count's like, yeah, I wanted to talk to your child about her dreams. Let's go inside. And I was like, what the fuck is, like, what? So, essentially, Julie has had kind of, like, a prolific dream about a vampire war where the Count has identified that Ethan is the one in charge, and also that they're using guns, and the Count's like, guns? That's so weird. Like, why would they be using guns? Because nobody else knows about the wooden bullets yet. So Bruce Campbell's, like, leaning over this, like, stained glass ceiling to, like, eavesdrop or whatever, and Sandy just like nudges him into it, and he falls through, and it's just like, hello, I'm Robert Van Helsing, and I'm gonna kill you. And they start, just it's a whole thing.
Every time he said like Rob Van, I expected his last name to be Dam.
Rob
Same.
Van Dam. Well, he gave like I don't remember who he was talking to, but he gave them a fake name, and it was like Robert Van Hell, and I was like, okay,
Yeah,
well that's
it was when I think it's when he like right before he kidnaps that vampire woman in the desert.
So, but now he's like, haha, my grandfather was Van Helsing, and I'm a Van Helsing, and the Count's basically just like, you fucking idiots. Like, you guys just keep trying to kill us, and we're actually not bad at all. Like, we're fine. So, like, the whole point here is that the Count and all of the townspeople are, like, quote-unquote, civilized vampires, where they don't attack people. They also are not... They don't vamp out and get all crazy looking. And they look normal most of the time. They just, like... can't be in direct sunlight, and they also are drinking this synthetic blood, which sounds terrible. And Ethan thinks that that's not okay because it's their birthright to be able to kill people, blah blah blah. So he's like bred all of these vampires that he just like kept underground so that they're like feral essentially. So that's what's happening here.
I don't remember any of that.
So yeah, so essentially the family is like, okay, well, Dave is like, we need to go, we need to leave, like, we can't be here, this is all crazy. And so the Count's like, okay, yeah, go ahead. And so the family, he's like, but hurry. So the family leaves, and they're like, the Count's like, okay, well, what are we gonna do with Bruce Campbell? And Sandy's like, please. And he's like, okay, fine. So Sandy bites him, and because she's in love with him. And he's like, perfect. Humans and vampires in love. That's great. But then she turns him into a vampire, and his scream is so funny. When she bites him, it's like, I can't do it. It was very funny.
Best thing about Bruce Campbell that I guess it's like the same thing people say about like Nick Cage, but like when he's in shit like this, like he'll do that like overacting thing that just like somehow works for him.
Well, and I think it works because, like, sometimes, like, people may not like that I'm going to say this. Sometimes Bruce Campbell is too much for me. Like, sometimes his acting is so over the top that it's, like, a little goofy and much for me. But in a movie like... I know. But in a movie like this, it really works because he's just, like... I don't know. It just really works because his character is sort of just like kind of reserved, and he's just kind of like a nervous like bookie guy. Like I don't even know what his real job is or whatever, but like the times that he overacts is in scenes like this where he's like getting bit by a vampire. So it's just like it just really works.
I think it's the mustache.
Yeah,
it could be, and the glasses.
Yeah,
I'm a fan. So
Bruce Campbell, come on the podcast. I know you're listening.
Yeah, let's talk about your mustache.
Yes. I know what I just said sounded mean, but it wasn't. I still love you.
Yeah, so we were only talking about Man with the Screaming Brain.
Yep, I've definitely heard of that and seen it.
You should watch it. It's not good.
It happens. You can't, Okay, so back at the gas station, we've seen that the Ethan's army has arrived, and unfortunately they killed the two brothers there and head into town. Shane blows up the gas station, so R.I.P. Merle and Milt. So the family basically is like driving their car to try and leave, but they have to drive through town, and essentially, I don't really know why, but like Ethan's army is up ahead, and the dad, instead of just stopping the car because he's got plenty of space, like turns the wheel really hard, and they like skirt and then like run into the crash into
to drive through a building. Like,
yeah, I was like,
trying to give his kids a fun vacation.
I mean, they seem like they're having a blast, honestly. So, Anna and Otto come out and they're like, "What's going on?" And they see the army, so they're like, "Okay, go back to the Count. Goodbye." So Mort breaks. He's like the last brother at this point. Breaks out of jail and has also turned the campers into vampires, and all three of them basically join the standoff between the town people, vampires, and the army. So eventually, there's like a dumb thing where like one of the gross guys like goes to join Ethan's like army or whatever, and then one of the guys is like, "No, like what are you doing?" And then they fight, and then the army basically starts shooting at them, so they retreat to the synthetic blood plant, and because the guns are killing them. And this scene doesn't matter, except it's funny. Basically, Bruce Campbell wakes up as a vampire because he is being burned by the cross that he puts on his neck. And it's pretty funny. And he, like, also realizes he's a vampire, and he's, like, bummed by it. So basically, like, at the plant, there's, like, a shootout going on. Some of the, like, regular vampires... Whew, this is confusing. So... I'm going to say the good vampires and the bad vampires. So some of the good vampires managed to get some of the guns away from the bad vampires. And so when, like, Ethan and his group of people, like, burst into the plant with the guns, they can fight back with other guns and actually kill some of them. So there's like, this whole shootout going on. Meanwhile, Shane leaves because he wants to go find Sarah. The scene was pretty funny, too, because... like, the group of good vampires is, like, basically at the back of the plant, and there's no way to escape. And they're like, "We need to escape. What are we going to do?" And Mort is like, "I don't know. I'm not young like you guys. I can't do anything." And then they're like, "Okay, but we're going to be killed or whatever." And he just goes, "Ah!" and, like, slams through the wall into the night. And just, like, the way he yelled was just so funny. So they escape. Shane, via horse, catches up to the family who's just been running on the road. And essentially is like, gonna stand off against Dave. But then Bruce Campbell and gang show up to save them. Marmaduke is about to kill Shane, but then Ethan's army also shows up, and then they start talking about, like, the philosophy of being a vampire, essentially. Then the good group of vampires from town show up behind the army of bad vampires with the guns. So it's just, it keeps going. So basically, they now join Bruce Campbell's group, and now it's just like all one group of good guys and one group of bad guys. So Sarah and the girls basically get on a horse and ride away as a shootout starts. And Shane still sneaks off and follows them somehow. She gets back to the house and, like, sends the girls off to hide in the secret passage, like, right when Shane shows up, and is, like, looking for her. Everyone's, like, driven away from, like, their original standoff place. So now Dave and that whole group with Bruce Campbell, the Count, blah, 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 Sandy, arrive at the Count's mansion, and they, like, get behind... they get into the grounds and behind a fence, like a gate. And so the army shows up and, like, I guess can't get through the gate, so they just stand there and shoot at them, and they're just, like, shooting a bunch. Bruce Campbell also gets shot in the leg, I think. So essentially, this is where it all comes to a head, because Sarah is trying to hide from Shane in the house, but she cuts her finger, and so he finds her and, like, gets her up into the bedroom and essentially says that he, like, broke the blood machine on purpose so that Dave would have to bring his family there. And he also knew about, like, the army thing happening or whatever, and it was, like, all a ruse so that he could use his vampire charms to basically get her to stay with him. Sandy says that she knows a way over to the other mansion through the passage, so they go. It's like Sandy, Dave, two other guys go over there, and before Shane can bite Sarah, Dave shows up and shoots him, but he doesn't shoot him in the heart, so there's like a struggle. And Bruce Campbell had given Dave some like holy water, so he like dribbles it on the back of his neck, and he's like spurting blood and shit. And then he finally shoots him in the heart, and Shane's dead. Goodbye. There's still more shootout.
to a not real one.
Yeah, R.I.P. to a douche. So there's a shootout still. And essentially, Sandy gets cornered by this like gross diner guy from before, but she's fine because she stabs him through the heart with an umbrella.
I mean, are there non-gross diner guys?
That's a good point.
Well, most of them are still good. They're probably gross, but this guy was evil and gross. She stabs him with an umbrella, and the umbrella like opens, and it's like pretty cool. But then Ethan gets her and essentially tells Bruce Campbell's group to like stand down and throw their guns down or he's going to kill her, and he's in love with her now. So they're like, okay, so they put all the guns down, and I'm not really sure why this happens, but essentially Ethan is going to shoot them, and the Count is like, hello, don't shoot me. You're a uncultured swine or some shit. So now the Count and Ethan are going to have a good old-fashioned duel. The Count ends up winning. Like, they just stand there and stare at each other and then shoot. And he shoots Ethan twice, and he wins, and then dun dun dun, it turns out that he is actually Dracula.
What?
Shocker.
He's
essentially like...
What a surprise.
I know. So Ethan's essentially just like, we're the same age. Like, why are you better than me? Like, how could you beat me? And he's like, haha, I am not the same age as you. I just am really old and had to reinvent myself, and I'm Dracula.
It's
like,
it's
okay.
very strange too, because like David Carradine is like the least shit, what's the word? Like, he does not
sensual.
No.
Oh.
Well, yes, but I was gonna say he's like he doesn't seem like a vampire to me at all in this. But I also think it's because like every other thing I've ever seen him in is usually like a kung fu movie or like just like shit like that. So like him playing Dracula, I was just like, I don't buy it. He just wasn't he's not super convincing to me as Dracula.
I also
like kung fu Dracula.
Well, yeah, that would check out.
I also just like don't really see the point of it, honestly. Like, who cares? But yeah, he's not very like cultured looking or menaced. Like, he just kind of has no personality in this movie.
I think that's the problem, is he just like, he mostly just feels like somebody who's there to be there.
Yeah.
But
yeah. There just needed to be like a good leader and a bad leader, I guess. So then he's like, haha, I'm Dracula, and then he tries to shoot Ethan, but he is out of bullets. Meanwhile, like, Dave has been inside the Count's house just like wrecking up the furniture and shit, and at this point they see a shadow cast over them, and they look up to see that Dave has made a huge cross out of broken pieces of furniture and has put it up on the roof. And upon seeing the cross, the evil army of Ethan's freaks out, and they start like melting and catching on fire and shit. And Ethan explodes. Just explodes.
Yeah, it happens.
Meanwhile, the Count's group is like totally fine and unaffected by the cross, and he says, "We've finally been forgiven." And I was like, huh? Sure. Then there's like a little scene of Sarah telling Julie that Dave is her dad. And she says, "Daddy's your dad." I was like, what a weird way to say that. And then she's like, "Dad, I love you." And I was like, okay, were you not gonna if Shane was your dad? Anyways, the Count is essentially just like, well, here we are. That was a wild ride. By the way, there's lots of other vampires in the world, and like some are good like us and some are bad or whatever. And then he says, the past is the past. We have a new life to live. Let's hope it's not in vain. And then Bruce Campbell absolutely loses his shit.
It's like the most ridiculous, like, overacting laugh in a movie.
It was. He just is like cracking up and he's like, in vain, get it? Because we're vampires. And then they all start laughing too. The family drives away and the vampires wave at them. And that's the end.
It feels like a thing that Bruce Campbell was just, like, tired of filming and was just like, I'm going to do something for me.
That's it.
And they were just
Yeah,
like, I'm
for
using
me.
this. Because, like, it doesn't even feel like his character, you know?
Yeah. I'm gonna treat myself. just an insane laugh as a treat. Yeah. So I don't know. I liked it.
Yeah,
still.
it was fine.
Yeah.
It was a movie that, like, I'm, like, glad I watched because I fucking like watching Bruce Campbell and stuff, and it was, like, again, like we said at the beginning, like, I'd never heard of it before. I don't think I've ever seen anyone talk about it, so, yeah.
Next year, everyone will watch it and think it's the best thing ever and pretend like we never said anything about it.
Probably.
So it'll finally get its recognition.
Alright. Any news?
Yeah, so the In Search of Darkness documentary part 2 will air on Shudder April 26th, which is the day before my birthday.
Wait, you have a birthday this year?
I do.
Fuck.
I decided to have it this year because I skipped it. I thought it was time. Let's see. Keanu Reeves is set to star in a film adaptation of his comic book, which is called Berserker, but it's spelled Brzrkr.
Yeah, that's how you spell it.
Linnea Quigley is about to host a show called Linnea Quigley's Paranormal Truth, which is going to be 12 spooky tales with paranormal investigator interviews and whatnot. You can watch the trailer if you'd like. I don't know. It said it was just going to be like streaming on demand, so I assume everybody's going to have it and not just Shudder. Not really sure. And yeah.
There was something I feel like I saw that I was gonna bring up. Oh yeah, that Sally from the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre is like they got the same actress back to come for whatever they're fucking doing next, which is
they also
interesting.
announced whoever was playing Leatherface, but I wasn't familiar with him, so
I don't think I saw that.
Yeah,
It's Bautista.
It
oh
fucking
my god,
better
could
be.
you imagine? Could you imagine?
That'd be sick. I'd be way into that.
No, it's like
Let's see.
He's Bautista bombing people onto the chainsaw.
Oh, Fetty
Burnham?
Alvarez is producing it.
Somebody named Mark Burnham.
I thought you were gonna say Fetty Wap.
Yeah.
Oh! From Low
I'd watch
Life.
that
I
movie.
have no idea who this is, so.
Yeah, I still don't want to watch it, but
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know.
I guess at least if they're doing a sequel to the first one, at least bringing somebody back, I guess makes sense. But
yeah.
all right, you guys watch anything good?
Fetty Wap's Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Just in your dream.
I love it. No, I only watch stuff for the podcast, and I watched like not even half of the Snyder Cut, and I had to turn it off.
I knew you were gonna hate it.
Oh my god, it's so terrible. Like, to be fair, I have not seen the original one at all, so I don't really know what was I don't when I just thought, I don't know. I thought I was ready for it because I'd seen so many things at this point, but and also it's like, oh my god, the movie is like 12 hours long because of all the it's like the whole movie is in slow-mo.
Yeah, so I watched the whole thing and I liked it, but I will say the first like 45 minutes is just people sadly walking to like Nick Cave music Like there's
What? The soundtrack was so weird.
there's like 4 Nick Cave songs in the soundtrack, and like, but it's like there's so much of just people like being sad that Superman's dead, and I was like, all right, come on. But like once like the plot kicked in, I was like fully on board. There's like a pretty incredible Flash scene in like the climax of the movie that like.
Maybe I just need to take it in chunks, because I think I probably got about 45 minutes into it. I got into, like, when they introduced, like, Cyborg, and then I was like, I can't do this anymore,
like,
and I turned it off.
All the Flash and Cyborg stuff I liked a lot. But it's like, the movie didn't need to be as long as it is, because there's so much slow-mo in it that, like, didn't need to be there.
No, also
not to spoil it for you, but Martian Manhunter's in it. And it kind of rules.
I also just, like, couldn't, like, all of the action sequences where it's, like anything with, I don't know, the Amazons, and just, like, everything looked not, like, the CG just was not great.
Well, it looks like Zack Snyder movies.
Well, I guess I don't like Zack Snyder movies.
Yeah, they're not.
I just thought it was just so hard to get through. The very first like slow-mo scene that really got me was like whenever Aquaman is like walking on the pier and there's like water splashing and it's like I was like, what the fuck is going on? It was so I don't know. We'll see. I don't know.
I think the only thing I watched besides that. Oh no, I watched that Uwe Boll fucking documentary about him that made all of his movies make sense.
That's too much. That's too much Boll.
The documentary is actually pretty good, but because they talk about the fact that Blubberella, Blood Rain 3, and his Auschwitz movie were all shot at the same time, and it's just fucking baffling. He was just like, well, I have this set, might as well take advantage of it, and it's very strange. I also
that explains why that was the one that he decided to spoof, because it's like, might as well.
I also watched My Neighbor Totoro for the first time. Totoro. I refuse.
Tostinos?
You refuse to pronounce it correctly?
Yes, because in my head, for like my, since I've known it's existed, it's just been like that. And then once they said it in the movie, I was like, nope, I refuse.
Wow.
My Neighbor Tostada.
Yeah.
I want some tostadas.
That sounds delightful.
What about you, Kit?
I watched a super sick movie from Kim Ji-woon, the director of I Saw the Devil, called The Foul King. And it's got Song Gang-ho from Parasite playing a banker who hates his job, and he wants to take up martial arts as self-defense, but decides to go with wrestling instead.
Oh.
So he becomes a wrestler who specializes in cheating. It fucking rules.
What's that on?
I watched it on Criterion Channel, but I think it's on Prime too.
What was it called?
The Foul King.
Okay.
And then I also watched Slacks on Shudder,
what did you think of that?
Rules.
Oh man.
A+ film, cinema, perfect.
Okay. I was gonna watch it, but I just obviously literally did not have time. So
the poster is so garbage, and it does not do the movie justice at all.
Okay.
It's extremely funny, and as absurd as you would hope a Killer Jeans movie would be.
So they deliver.
Yes.
I don't think I've logged into Shudder in like 4 months.
Yeah, this was the first thing I've watched in a while on there.
Yeah.
I guess I've probably looked on like my phone just like when I'm just like, well, like maybe I'll watch something on here, and I'm just like, I don't want to watch any of this. I gotta watch Evil Bong 4.
I looked like there's been a while since I think the last thing I tried to watch was like the Christmas Creepshow special and the animated one, and I was like, this is the worst, and I haven't watched anything since, but I logged on like yesterday and actually added some stuff to my list. So
I feel like the last time I probably actually watched something on there was probably like October.
Yeah.
I've been like pretty
It's
deep into HBO Max lately, and then like Tubi's been kind of my
There's so
go-to
much good
because
stuff.
I don't know. I've just
Yeah.
been watching like bullshit on Tubi.
Yeah.
Kit, where are you at wrestling?
ECW One Night Stand 2007, where it's just not anything at all like ECW now.
Yeah. I
Like Bobby Lashley's wrestling Vince McMahon, Shane McMahon, and Umaga for the ECW championship. It's really stupid.
Is that like was that the one where like John Cena wrestled there and got like booed pretty heavily? Or was that like a different one night stand?
I think that was 2005 or 2006. He came out like to wrestle Rob Van Dam, I think, as champion.
Yeah, where like doesn't like
And
Edge come out and like interfere or some shit?
Yeah, he was getting boos constantly. And it's like a 20-minute match. It's just constant booing.
That rules.
It was fantastic.
Alright. Shout outs. I'll go first. I got two. There's an album on Bandcamp for pre-order by a new band called, I think, Kataan. K-A-T... Goddamn.
Who?
K-A-T...
K-A-T-E-Y?
E-Y. No. K-A-T-A-A-N. But it's Brett from Astronoid and Nick from the guy who used to sing for Vatnet Viskar. It's pretty good like progressive death metal, I guess.
Nice.
Like the one song that's up so far, and then they have the 2 episodes out right now of the 6-part series on HBO Max. I think it's just called Q Into the Storm.
Yeah, I just saw that pop up.
It's had like a weird reaction online because people are just like, you're not taking it seriously, but they started filming it in 2018. And so they haven't hit kind of like any of the kind, like it hasn't really hit that like mainstream like fervor that it is going to hit. But it's been really like the first 2 episodes are pretty fascinating, interviewing all of these like people behind all of these like super popular like QAnon accounts and like people fighting against them and kind of like the people that created 8chan and shit. I don't know. I like it a lot so far. It's been pretty fascinating. But that's on HBO Max and it's worth your time if you have that.
I need to get through more of the podcast before I watch that, I think.
Honestly, you could probably watch it and it might make some of the podcast stuff make more sense as it's happening.
Yeah.
Because they interview Frederick Brennan a lot, who's the guy that created 8chan, who's currently fighting the people that own 8chan to get it shut down, because he was like, oh, this website I created is a problem and it should not exist anymore. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys want to shout out?
Go for it, Katie.
I'm gonna shout out, when this episode comes out, the new Citizen album will be out, and obviously I haven't listened to it yet because it comes out on Friday, but I know it's gonna be amazing, so that's my shout out.
What if it's an entire album of polka songs?
I will still love it. Well, they've released like 3 of the songs, and I like all 3 of them, so I'm sure like they're like the only band I think that like I found completely on my own, like wasn't like hadn't heard of it until I found it, and I started listening to them like when their very first singles came out, and I've loved every single album, and like that doesn't really ever happen for me, so I think it's gonna be good. I'm excited.
What about you, Kit?
Raw, the movie from like what 2017?
Yeah.
About the cannibal veterinarian. It finally got a Blu-ray release, which it hasn't had at all here in the U.S. So I'm gonna say that.
That movie
Go buy
fucking
that
rules.
because it rules.
Yeah,
It's so good.
really good.
Absolutely worth revisiting. And if you've never seen it, seek it out.
I thought it was streaming on something right now, but I could be wrong. But fuck it, yeah, buy the Blu-ray because support that shit.
Yeah, it's been on and off Prime, I think, but it's one of my favorite recent horror movies, and I want to own it. And I was so excited when Shout Factory was like, "Hey, this is finally coming out in the U.S."
Hell yeah!
Like, I don't have to try and import it from fucking Germany or whatever.
I'm in the process, I think, buying a region-free Blu-ray player because, like, I'm just getting fucking fed up with everything I want that's coming out in, like, cool packaging and shit like that being, like, UK only and shit. I'm just like, fuck this. I'm just get a player that'll play them and start buying that shit. Alright, next week, I think we're doing Zebra Man.
Oh man.
He does whatever a zebra can.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I'm pretty sure he makes fruit stripe gum. That's
That's it. It's a Takashi Miike, right?
Yes. I believe so.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did we announce like what our theme next month was gonna be?
Nah, figured they could figure
Zebras.
it out. Yeah, just all movies with zebras.
It's zebra themed.
No, we're gonna each pick like an Asian horror movie.
Zebra film.
And then we got I think the last one we'll do is the one we all have the physical copies of that I'm not announcing yet.
Dun, dun.
So yeah, now would be a perfect time to. So obviously we're here. It's that time of year. April is my birthday month. So if you guys aren't a part of our Patreon, you should be because I'm gonna be doing stuff all April.
Sign up for our Patreon
exclusively on the Patreon,
and I will buy us all copies of Dead Sushi so we can fucking watch it.
Oh my god, please!
It's like fucking like $40, and I refuse until.
Yeah, that's. Jeez. Unless we had a region-free Blu-ray players, so we could just order the regular version.
Yeah. But yeah, join our Patreon. What date does this come out? I think this comes out 29th. So yeah, 2 days after this is out, we have our April bonus episode on Soylent Green scanners and Hausu that you could listen to on top of all of the old ones. Our Patreon is patreon.com/IHopeYouSufferPodcast.
Get it?
It's pretty good. You get a picture of Cisco singing Thong Song from Katie if you sign up for.
Yeah, I guess we never talked about that. Like, if you when you guys sign up for $5 or above, we send you like the sticker pack, obviously. But for some reason, I've just also been drawing everybody notes. So, yeah, I did Cisco. There was also like a ring, like a Samara shark that I did at one point. So yeah.
That when you sent me the picture of Cisco for Layla, I was fucking losing it. So good. Yeah, so join our Patreon. It's fun. We have stuff in the works.
Yeah. Stuff and things.
Turn the light on because it got dark in here. Where are my notes? We have merch and all that shit at our storefront here at storefrontier.com/IHopeYouSuffer. Leave us ratings, reviews, all that shit on iTunes. Tell us your favorite Bruce Campbell mustache.
Ooh, yeah.
Feel like he probably had one in Briscoe County Jr. at some point.
Probably.
What's a Western without a mustache?
Yeah, you know.
You know?
Follow us on Instagram at I Hope You Suffer Podcasts. Follow Kit at Hidden Kitstery and Katie at Werewolf Face.
How?
You can see new videos of her making art.
Yeah.
Listen to my other podcast, 8K Movie Club. Oh yeah, so next week Zebra Man. I think that was on Prime if you want to watch that. But yeah, I hope you suffer, but why?
I hope you Marma, but Duke.